Is it good?
It is. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it is.
Fantastic. Awesome.
Fantastico. This one doesn't have to be so long since there's only two people, but I did listen to a Joe Rogan episode yesterday that was 3 hours long with just
Yeah.
Duncan and Joe.
Yep. They are crazy at keeping that shit going for.
Well, we talked in your car for 3 hours straight.
That's true.
Holy
That's true. And I
holy
feel like if
crap.
you get really high, I feel like it gets easier to just sit in one spot and talk about
Oh my
shit
gosh.
like baseball. Fuck that.
Oh my god. The baseball players. We were
Okay.
on
I
that.
guess people don't know what's happening
Oh my
as far as the
god.
baseball story. Do you want to tell the baseball story,
I think
or
I wouldn't know how to start it.
can we tell the baseball story, or do we have to start like at the beginning of that day, or can we just hop in the middle of it?
I think it'd be I don't know. That's a
I
good
guess I'm
question.
gonna try to hop in and
Do it from when I first came up to the car.
so from the beginning,
Okay.
skipping all the details that nobody listening would give a shit about.
Yeah.
I have a cold. I was miserable at college, at the community college, and I was gonna go
Fancy.
home. Wesley came up, asked if we wanted to hang out. We skipped class, ended up smoking a
This
bunch
is
of weed in my car instead.
this is very
Uh,
expedited.
I'm gonna get into greater detail.
Okay.
I, being sick, didn't want, and I've had experiences with smoking when I'm sick in the past, and it's gotten me more sick, so I only took about 3 bong rips, whereas
Mhm.
Wes here went about, I think you said like,
It's definitely more than 10. It's probably like more
I
like
think you
15.
went like 11 or, what? Like
It,
13?
it was like more. It was more than 10. It was probably like in between 10 and 15.
Okay,
I don't
somewhere in
remember.
there. So you're like, you're high as a kite, and I'm just kind of got a mild buzz going, but
And I haven't smoked for 2 weeks.
yeah, yeah. So we're sitting in my car, and I'm trying to think. All of a sudden, all these cars start pulling up across from us, and they're all these baseball players, and they're all just seeming
Gosh.
like they're all trying to be super cool. They've got their doors open and their window, or their doors open and their music
Oh my
blasting,
god.
and then they all go down and play for a while, and we're just having philosophical conversations about the universe and tidal waves in my car. And all of a sudden, they all come running back up after like 20 minutes of practicing, and we're like, "Well, was that it?" And they basically all take their pants off and start.
I was gonna say,
They all just get.
you don't throw each other's pants at each other and try on like three different pairs without being gay. Like,
I
I was
mean,
so confused.
I don't understand what the point of them quitting mid practice just to go up there in the parking lot. Granted, this is all in a parking lot. They're all getting naked just out in the middle of the open. And we happen to have parked there. I happen to have parked there 4 hours earlier. Unfortunately, facing in the direction of where they would later be getting naked. So we're just sitting there in my car, and they're just like maybe 30 feet away from us, all just getting naked. And
We had like the perfect view of them, and they just did not notice us. Apparently,
I
I think
I
they
don't
wanted us to see them.
I think they wanted everybody to see
They
them.
wanted to
I
induct
just
people into
don't
their.
I just don't understand like what the point of that was.
It's such just a like. There's I
Hey, man,
guess there's
you want to
something
drive that?
about baseball culture that makes them want to like just be really close to each other. I don't know.
I don't know either. I never really played sports as a child, so the closest I ever got to being around a bunch of dudes getting naked was when I would go to the pool and I'd have to walk through the locker room. And usually that's a bunch of old men with their sweaty balls hanging out, and a bunch of people who are way too comfortable naked around a bunch of men in the showers who just happen to be. They seem like they are pretty used to this at that point. And
Maybe they just reached a certain level
I,
of thought where they felt like I don't know. I guess
I
they're
don't know.
just not scared of someone like running up to them and sticking it in their butt.
I don't know, but I mean, is that what it's like for sports teams? Do you all just go in the locker room and like get naked with each other? Is that
Not
not?
not from my
Is that to the point where
experience.
it's like a regular thing, so that it's not such a big deal in the parking lot?
The one, I mean, it's weird. Like I kind of experienced this. I was on a couple teams for like a year, and like for ultimate frisbee, literally after like the year, we were just in the like right before we were doing a game or whatever, we would just take off our clothes in the middle of the field and like change jerseys and like change shorts and like for some reason it just makes you a lot more comfortable with the people around you. Maybe it's
Hmm.
just because like you're all getting like really active and sweaty and you're activating all these like runner's high and like athletic highs in your brain and like you're all like making this like team connection like as a unit. I don't know. That
Huh.
seems to be the most
Yeah, I don't have much inquiry on that because whenever I am pushing my body or I'm going through some intense physical exercise, it's usually by myself. I'm usually going on a run by myself, or I'm lifting weights, usually without a spotter. Not the smartest thing to do, but usually I'm by myself. I don't have that sort of unity. I don't know.
it's
Yeah, that
weird,
must be
yeah.
it. It must be something about your team just being very comfortable with them.
And I
I,
mean baseball's like the old like isn't it like one of the oldest sports ever? So there's like this huge history with it and people are like they 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 try to move the legacy of baseball forward and so they're like just really close and they're as a team they're keeping the culture alive and it's I guess they just are really
yeah,
comfortable.
I don't know if it's one of the oldest sports. I have no idea, honestly, but I know that it's got a lot of deep American roots.
Oldest sport, I'm googling it. Arguably wrestling is considered to be the world's oldest sport. Interesting. Well, that seems legit because you don't
No,
need any
that does seem legit. I mean,
you don't need any tools to play it.
I think people were fighting long before they were working together in a civilization long enough to make some sort of recreational activity.
Yeah, I like currently in our modern world, I couldn't see myself like getting in a fight with anyone. But
You're very much pacifist.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like if anyone like approached me or like was very aggressive with me, I don't know. I feel like my first reaction would just be like run away.
Well, I think it depends on what the reasoning is too. I mean, don't get me wrong, fights are nothing to be looking out for unless you have experience in fighting or you know a certain couple types of martial, unless it's a fight that you know you can win. I don't think that anybody desires to get into a fight. I don't think you should desire to get into a fight anyway, but
Even
they're
if
definitely
it's
nothing fun to get into.
even if
I
it's
mean,
like someone that you can win against, like why would you wanna?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I kind of was talking out of my ass, I guess, but yeah, you shouldn't want to fight in the first place, but fighting, yeah, almost always, even if somebody wins, both people are going to end up getting hurt. I mean, I've never come out of a fight without, my own injuries. You
although,
know,
have you ever just been like so angry that you just wanted to like punch something and like just it lets it all out somehow and it's
yeah,
just it's so relieving. Like that's what I feel like all these like MMA fighters and like martial artists and stuff. It's like they get a kick out of like having all that physical power and letting all this energy out
yeah,
that
I totally.
it feels like something deeply rooted within our nature as humans to just punch the shit out of it's just fucking stuff.
Yeah, punching bags are. I used to have a punching bag, and it would definitely help. Now I think the way I get most of my stress out, or most of my, not, I don't want to say stress, but maybe like just emotions that I've pent up throughout the couple days is usually through bench press.
I feel
But
you.
but yeah, I punching bag is very. It's a good way to get some good exercise in, and I'm sure that just punching the shit out of a bag is a good way to get your stress out.
Have you heard Kid Cudi's new album?
I have not.
He just released it like 4 days ago.
I just actually saw it on the iTunes store today,
Dude,
this morning.
oh my goodness. I love it so much.
Really?
Like,
Really?
oh my, artists, like, everyone always looks back on like the albums and famous music that was made in the past, but like, the future is now, man. The music that's being made today is so awesome, and I feel like I connect with it on a so much deeper level. Not only because it's being made by the influences of like things today and what we're experiencing, but it just fits with our whole culture at the moment. I feel like it's like perfect.
Yeah, I
And
think the a lot of the music that's coming out is pretty good. I haven't listened to it. I should listen to his new album. I definitely will. I mean, did you like Man on the Moon?
I didn't
Or
listen to
a
all of
lot
Man
of
on the Moon.
his.
I only heard like like three or so songs from it.
That's definitely my favorite album.
Really?
Uh,
Didn't he make a
yeah,
Man on the Moon too?
yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I
Man on the
just
Moon.
know that uh, he after he quit smoking, I heard from a lot of people that his music quality kind of went downhill a little bit. I can't speak to one way or the other because I haven't listened to a lot of his more modern things.
Well, the album that he released a year after Man on the Moon apparently got pretty bad ratings. But then he's been making his new album, like Man on the Moon 3, for the last like 3 years or so, or like 2.5 years. And he just released this album called Satellite Flight,
Yep,
which
that's what it
is
was.
which is basically like the like the scraps and like the extras and the bloopers and like the stuff that kind of influenced him to make Man on the Moon 3, which is called Journey. It's called like its full name is Satellite Flight: The Journey to the Mother Moon. So maybe it's called Mother Moon and not Man on the Moon 3. But either
Huh.
way, it's cool that he just releases like a mixtape pretty much of like random stuff that he came up with.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I mean, I'm a huge Kid Cudi fan, though I usually stick to his old stuff, and I haven't ventured. I need to venture out more with music. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
my lack of free time is really killing me, and the fact that I have such a shitty internet plan with my phone company that I can't use Pandora or something unless I have Wi-Fi. And the only time the time that I listen to music the most is in my car when I don't
yeah,
have Wi-Fi. So I really need to upgrade that.
dude. Apparently, Kid Cudi came out with an album last year called Indicud, and it's like one of his like
Hmm.
best albums.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Really? Oh my
Hmm.
god. Oh, that's what Just What I Am is on. Dang.
That's
I
yeah.
like I'm falling deeply in love with music. I just can't stop listening to music, and like I'm discovering all these great artists and stuff, and like um the subreddit for tree music, the our trees has like a separate music subreddit, and like every single day people are putting up like some of the coolest music I've ever heard, and like new artists are popping up that are just amazing, and like I'm really liking the new direction that the music industry is moving into. It's not just like rock and like classical and like defined genres. Like people are adding on and expanding and like parodying and like just changing genres of music that we have today. Just it's so awesome sauce.
Yeah. I like a lot of the it seems like a lot of the uh classic rap is just kind of turned into, or hip hop I should say, not so much rap, but hip hop has changed a lot
Yeah.
in the past couple of years, or I'd say, in this generation in general. It
Yeah, it's a lot. It's like like somewhere along the lines, for some reason, everyone just starts to like pop music and just
Yeah,
wants,
that's
like, all they
that's
want is like pop music, and so like hip hop started putting like undertones of pop into all their songs, and now it's like mostly pop music. But
yeah. I mean, I like a lot of Kid Cudi. I like Kendrick Lamar too, which is kind of a
yeah,
I don't want to say entirely the same thing, but it's got kind of the same undertone to it. Yeah, I really like where music's going. I hear a lot of people complain about it, uh, but I mean, I like personally where it's going.
it's, yeah, like pop music as a genre is okay, but like, I don't know, this the underground genres like synthesizer music and like, um I don't know, some of the really abstract hip hop pop songs, like the really unique stuff on the outskirts of the music industry, are kind of putting down some strong roots and may eventually outcompete some of the main genres of music. And if that actually ended up happening in the future, that would be dope. Because then you'd have huge markets for this kind of music, and the innovation within them would be so insane. Like
Yeah,
in the future, we're all just gonna be like sitting in like metal balls, like absorbing like insane beats into our bodies. It's gonna be a whole different experience. Music. It's gonna keep
yeah,
evolving.
yeah. I need to potentially start getting into this rave scene because this seems to be a pretty big thing that people are. Apparently, the music there is pretty crazy. Nathan is at Datsik right
Oh
now,
yeah.
and I don't know what time it gets. I think he said it was 2. I think raves usually are done around like 2 or 3 maybe.
How long is
So,
the wait? When did he start?
uh, I think like maybe 8 or 10, like 8, somewhere between 8 to 10, probably, maybe 9. I don't know.
I mean, hey man, those who rave together stay together.
It seems like an interesting culture that a lot of people are picking up. I mean, I definitely want to try it out. Maybe
It's probably
I might
such
not
a
take to it, but
it's
you know,
probably such a trippy experience to get put in
yeah,
a very
yeah.
small room with like as many people as there used to be in like an entire village in like ancient times. You just get put in this super small area and have this like hot, sweaty, kind of like weird, not like dry hump orgy where you're just getting
Well,
pumped full of all this like music,
no, that seems
like
like what it is.
getting
I
pumped
mean,
full of
yeah.
all these like adrenal like highs and just ups and downs, and like it's just must be like a crazy ride.
Oh yeah, I mean, as far as like uh just what is accepted among what women wear in general, uh the past generations compared to this generation, I mean, it's getting pretty kinky with what women are parading around in these days. I mean, I'm not objecting to it by any means. Don't get me wrong. I'm
Hmm.
enjoying it just as much as the next guy. But when you've got a chicken yoga pants grinding up on you at while you got some heavy dubstep freaking
Just
blasting in your
blasting your
ears and you
eardrums.
just smoked, 10 bowls in your car, I can imagine that that would be a very euphoric experience. Yeah, something really crazy.
Like how Glenn found Maggie.
Yeah, that was an interesting situation. I mean, now they're in love and married, but if you think about their origins, they pretty much just fucked inside of a pharmacy. That's kind of how it happened.
During the zombie
And then the
apocalypse.
rest is history. They rode in on their horses, and maybe that Jocelyn in the saddle got Maggie all warmed up, and Glenn just swooped in for the kill.
It's just the perfect timing. And I mean, there was like no one else that she could fuck.
That's true.
Except for,
I mean,
well, I guess
do you-
Herschel's her dad. Never mind.
do you think that if the two... Okay.
What?
I guess you know Herschel's not getting any.
Well, Herschel's dead.
He did have a barn full of zombies, though, so I mean, depending on how low he decided that he could get, how rock
Yeah.
bottom desperate he got.
All you have to do is, I mean, he probably knew how to restrict blood. He could probably, I don't know, get some boners on some of those zombies.
Man, this is going to a dark place.
Okay.
This is going to a very dark...
Well, we could talk. Let's see. The episode on Sunday was pretty dope. I mean, Glenn didn't find Maggie.
Yeah,
But Herschel didn't fuck any zombies, so
That's true.
There's a plus.
But there's a lot that happened. That was a good episode.
I literally almost had a heart attack when Rick was in the
Spoiler
house.
Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert. Rick has a heart attack.
Okay, Rick is in the house. Yeah,
Rick
that's
has
not,
a heart
that's
attack
not
in the
terrible.
house.
Yep, Rick's dead.
Carl's also
Hopefully y'all
dead.
enjoyed it.
Michonne killed Rick and Carl. That was
Yep.
just a ruse.
Just mass slaughter. It's terrible. Just went crazy with that sword. That katana was deadly.
She's pretty
But-
badass.
But yeah, this new director, he's doing an amazing job so far of creating that suspense, of reincarnating that suspense that you felt maybe in the
First episode.
first season. Just the first season, I was caring about I mean, the second season I enjoyed too, but I have to admit this is one of the few series that I'm actually enjoying
They mean,
season that's not the first season the most.
yeah.
This season, especially the second half, is great.
Yeah, I
First-
mean, Brenton's a purist. He'll always go down to the first and second season. But I think this season is, wow, it's like
Yeah.
reaching new levels.
I mean, I got to admit, I don't know how I feel about the like widespread disease. That was kind of
Oh, for the first half?
yeah. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was an interesting direction they took it. It wasn't necessarily a bad one. It was just
To
kind
kill a
of
couple people off.
yeah, a different one. I think they could have gone a lot different ways with it. Maybe for the better. Probably quite a few different ways would have been better. But they made up for it with the second half by far. And I mean, they're all divided now. They're all separated, and you're learning a lot more of their personal history, which is great. And I mean, if that was their plan all along, then kudos. They did
Yeah,
a
they
great
did
job.
a great job. I just want to learn more about Abraham Ford.
Yeah, what is it about him that you seem to love so much?
He's just so, like, he's such a badass without having to be, like, a bad guy.
Have you read the comics or anything?
No.
You're just going off of the show?
Yeah.
Because they really haven't showed much of him. I mean, I wouldn't say that he's probably one of the most liked characters in the show. They haven't shown a lot.
Well,
A
this
lot.
this last episode, he showed that he really cares about helping people, and like he wants to save the world really bad, and he knows how to find the light of any situation, even in the zombie apocalypse. And he's just trying to be a good person. I mean, that's the kind of vibe that I get from him.
Where do you think the series is going to go?
Like,
As far as going to DC, I mean, I assume the group might split up as far as Glenn. I always forget the girl's name.
Hot
I think
tits.
we had this problem with the last podcast.
Just
too,
call her
of
hot
not
tits.
hot tits. Glenn and Hot Tits, and then the three-person group of Abraham, Ford, and the other guys.
Dr.
The scientist,
Eugene.
yep, Dr. Eugene, and then I don't know if the girl has really been explored very much. But I assume they're probably going to split up. Glenn's going to go on a mission to find Maggie. Do you think he's going to find her?
I think everyone except for, I think they're all going to meet in that stupid sanctuary.
Oh, shit. I totally forgot about the
I think because they're all, I mean, I don't know. I feel like since Glenn and the Hot Tits and Sergeant Abraham Ford, since they're all so far away from the city now, where the prison was next to, I feel like everyone's already going to that sanctuary, and it's going to be a while before they even find it. So...
Well, is Maggie going to the sanctuary?
Well, she's still in town. I believe they'll probably find a sign and go there eventually.
Yeah. But what about Glenn?
So,
might
like,
go
one
back to the town.
day Maggie's going to be out on a scavenger hunt for, like, for the town, and she's just going to, like, find Glenn, like, dead.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting prediction. Think they're going to kill Glenn off?
I mean, I feel like he could be killed off at this point.
Really?
Yeah.
Glenn is one of my favorite characters. I'd be really sad if they killed Glenn.
Yeah, but, I mean, I feel like there's not much more that he can provide in terms of, like, any kind of evolving story. His whole kind of thing was like, I was a nerd before this, and now in the zombie apocalypse, I'm a badass, and I got the girl, and I'm, like, finally flourishing into a full adult man person, and he's driven by love to do crazy shit, and how far can you get pushed until too much crazy shit kills you, and I think he might just be getting, like, blinded by love, kind of. And he's just going to die eventually.
Well, in that aspect, you could say the same about anybody. I mean, even Rick. I mean, his character feels, to me, like he's kind of evolved to his pinnacle in the sense that he was a cop and he wanted to stand up for his beliefs and his morals. And, you know, his story is a little bit more crazy, granted, with his wife, with Lori and Shane. But, I mean, that's concluded. Now for the past season, it's just been him and Carl going through, like, Carl's pissed off teenager age.
Yeah, so, I mean, he still has the whole raising a kid in the zombie apocalypse thing going for him.
Well, he does, but I think they've kind of hit a new tranquility phase where Carl thought that he could go on without him. I mean, Carl was being a shit in that first episode. I don't, just like, I don't care if you die. Like, okay, well, I don't know where that came from, but okay. But then all of a sudden he was like, I can't do it, and he loves his dad now, and now they're all okay. I mean, I see Rick's character going, obviously, probably to the end. I mean, he's the main character, but I really think as far as what he's got to offer more than anybody else, I think he's probably played that course. I mean, does he have any other plot points that are left open?
He has to raise Judith and Carl.
He does, but Carl's almost becoming self-sufficient.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's been a big plot point, is that Carl is now, he's becoming not a man. He's nowhere near a man. He's still a little whiny kid, but he's, been in a couple situations where he's come out.
Yeah.
With his showing his skills for survival and his quick thinking. Maybe lack of quick thinking, but usually luck gets him through where quick thinking doesn't.
Yeah.
But Rick stuck in that house, that was crazy. That was a really intense episode.
I had a heart attack. I had to go to the hospital. It was too intense. And I don't think it matters anymore. But I feel like we still don't know who was putting those rats in that prison. Like, it's probably going to be like the leader of the sanctuary is going to be like, I drove you guys out of the prison. We need you. I don't know.
That would be a pretty dumb plot twist. I don't even know what they're going to do with this sanctuary. I mean, essentially it seems like it's this like haven that once, if they happen to get there, maybe this season consists of them, coming across obstacles and getting to this sanctuary. But once they get there, I mean, it seems like that's it. Like they've got a huge community.
Should we do like a separate podcast where we just talk about The Walking Dead?
Probably.
Because if I have to put Walking Dead spoilers in every episode, it's gonna be geared towards a different audience.
That's true. Okay. Well, in the future, let's try to avoid the Walking Dead spoilers. And if we want to do something
Walking Dead
separate, we can do a different podcast.
Yeah.
If I'm going off on a Walking Dead rant, I apologize. With my sickness, my third eye has been closed for many days.
We should definitely do a separate Walking Dead podcast, but there's probably a lot out there. That's the only problem.
Probably true.
So never mind.
Sickness, man. But sickness. We are so fortunate to live in the age that we do, with medical science at the level that it is.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have hunter-gatherer communities out there and in the world. And, I mean, if you think about it, disease would just be such a terrible, horrible thing, a scary thing, whether it be hunter-gatherer colonies in this time or back, in 17th century, 16th century, where you're in this.
I feel like there's if you were living out in a hunter-gatherer society in like the jungle or near forest or Great Plains or whatever, like you'd probably just have a higher immunity to diseases and stuff like that. So people wouldn't get sick as often.
I think disease is still one of the main killers, but yeah, I think you would probably have a higher immunity through sort of evolutionary.
Because nowadays we just have so much, like, we kind of like grew these diseases out of the society that we are today. Just there's so many interactions with so many people, so many little bacteria cells being left like on everything, and we're pretty much like we've experienced and combated these diseases that we've introduced into our society. So I think the same thing for like hunter-gatherer societies is people would, in their environments, they would experience and just develop their own natural remedies and natural defenses against the the diseases that are common amongst them. Like washing your hands for us could be inhaling this certain leaf smoke and like rubbing oil and slug skin on other people's like bodies to heal them and whatnot. So it's all just like supernatural. Not supernatural, but like natural.
Yeah. But just imagine even comparing that to back when they thought bloodletting and things like that were healers, right? A healing technique.
Bloodletting?
Yeah.
What's that?
I mean, back before, they had almost any idea of what medical technology was. I mean, they had no idea. And you'd be taken to like a priest of some sort to be healed. They would stick a bunch of leeches. If you had some sort of disease, they'd just stick a bunch of leeches all over you, or they'd cut you or something, and they'd drain some of your blood out, and that would supposedly heal the sickness. And
Seems
I'm not
legit.
sure about the numbers. I mean, I'm sure they don't have very solid numbers, but I think most cases that actually hurt the person much more than it helped them.
Hmm.
I mean,
Well,
if
we do.
somebody's body is trying to fight a disease, like ridding their body of blood, which is necessary to actually fight this disease, is not the proper technique. But they had no idea back then.
We do some pretty fucked up shit, man.
Oh yeah,
Like,
history's bloody.
I mean, I was today in philosophy class. I was something struck a chord with me. Like, I just started thinking how I just started thinking about like the past and like how preposterous some ideas in the past were. Like, all the philosophers thought that like or some people thought like the world was flat and like shit like that. You know, like we believe some pretty crazy stuff. And then nowadays, like, what if what we believe now is just as like crappy and just as like wrong? Like, I was thinking in like a million years, people are gonna look back and say, these people believed that some omnipotent, ghostly higher power created them, and then while they're sitting in like universes away in like a coffee shop talking about how stupid Earth people were. Like, that just it doesn't seem. It seems possible.
Yeah, that would be crazy. I think civilization works with what it's got. I mean, minus that period where religion just trumped any scientific advance, and they just turned their heads to any sort of proof. That excluded, I think humanity kind of just did what they were took what they were given. I mean, back when the Earth was flat, they really had no reason to think that it wasn't. I mean, they had no way to tell that it wasn't flat. Once they started exploring more, and they realized that if you sailed off in one direction,
One Direction.
for a long enough period, yeah, one direction. If
Sorry.
no, it's fine. If they sailed off in one direction long enough, you would eventually come back to the same continent, the same land. You'd make a full circle. And I mean, even in this day and age, you know, when you said like they thought that some omnipotent being created them. I mean, in this age of scientific and technological advance, there's really, I mean, there is a lot of unknowns, but it does seem like people, for the most part, have a lot of it figured out. And if you take a quick step back and maybe you don't think about it too hard, you could very well say, you know, they've got most of the things figured out. Really, all that's left is just the ultimate question of religion, which seems to have no clear answer either way. You know, there's never going to be an answer to something like that. It's an answerless question, unless this omnipotent being were to show itself. Omnipotent being or beings, I don't know, but unless they showed themselves or made some sort of appearance, really, then again you're just stuck at that deadlock of based on someone's personal belief whether or not that thing exists.
What if we just can't see them though, man? What if like they're there and they're sending us all these signals, but with our puny, unevolved eyes, we just can't see them. But they're there in different molecules that we can't see with a microscope, or we can't see with our eyes.
I think if you talked to anybody who's done a large amount of psychedelics, they would probably agree with you.
Okay, I'm throwing this idea out there. I'm not saying it's real. I'm not saying it's fake. I'm just throwing it out there. What if, just like insects or humans or plants or anything and everything in nature that has evolved to become what it is today over the last however old the earth is, what if like the universal consciousness and like intelligence of like all the humans put together is an evolving force of its own. So, like, whenever we find, like, discover something new about the world, or, like, discover some new, like, analogy or metaphor, or just whenever we invent anything or evolve past a point that changes us and who we are, like, or we do end up discovering what, like, God is, or what the idea of God is, or what, like, religion is, like, down to the core. Like, what if intelligence is just an evolving creature that's surviving in the minds of all humans?
That would be very interesting.
It seems like if everything has a entity or an aura around it, couldn't that be ever changing from, like, external stimuli and stuff? Wouldn't it? Wouldn't
Yeah,
it be?
maybe.
Wouldn't it be an entity, force of its own?
I think he might be onto something.
Sweet.
Onto a concrete idea. You could formulate that into a very concrete thought that you might be able to make some sort of logical argument for, I think.
Yeah, I just thought of that in philosophy class. I think of some fucked up shit in philosophy.
Yeah, philosophy is an interesting subject. A lot of times it's very hard to wrap your mind around all of it. But I think that's probably my own fault too. I need to engage myself more.
Pretty good class today.
It was a good class today. It was confusing, and I'm not sure why nobody showed up.
Dude, it was me, you, and like 4 other people. No, 4 other people.
I think it started off as 5 other people. We took our halftime break. We came back, and it was literally 4 of us in total. So you hit it on the spot when we were in class, and you said, he's not lecturing us, he's talking to us now.
Yeah. That's when I started to freak out. I was like, oh shit, if we don't respond, there's just going to be like 2 minutes of pure silence when he's trying to think of what to say.
Yeah, that was this was a complicated subject today. I could not seem to grasp my head around it. I mean, if I had any strong input, I would have voiced it, but I really could not wrap my head around what he was trying to say. Any other day, and I would have probably had some good input.
But there's just so many people on other days that it's like...
There's literally no other day that I haven't been able to formulate something at least somewhat logical.
Yeah.
But, man, the ideas that he was trying to get across,
Yeah, at some points he was kind of running in circles, which was confusing.
Luckily we've got some superhero kids in the class who managed to actually follow him and speak up whenever he needed some reciprocation from us.
That one dude just... I don't know.
Superhero.
Yeah, he talks a lot, and I love it. Because I don't have to talk.
Shout out to Ian.
Ian?
Good. I think his name's Ian.
Shout out to Ian. You're God for killing all forms of awkward silence.
Good for him. Kudos. Grats.
Yeah. The Duncan Trussell podcast I was listening to yesterday was so hilarious. Joe Rogan went up to take a piss, and they were both just blitzkrieged out of their mind. And so it was just Duncan talking into the mic for like a minute or two. And he said some of the stupidest shit. He was like, play my Minecraft server. Yes, we have a Minecraft server. And I play Minecraft, and it's one of the most loneliest games you can play, but it's when you can play it with other people, it's fun. And it's like, oh god, he's definitely a unique individual. And
Yeah.
I don't know, when he starts talking about his very early experiences with like LSD, it gets me really interested in the substance, just because he he obviously figured out some pretty incredible shit, and it drove his thought process and almost way of life for like the rest of his life. It like literally changes your life. And
Yeah.
every time I listen to him talk about it, it just makes me more and more interested in it.
Powerful psychedelics tend to have that effect.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gone deep enough. I've obviously noticed a change in how I just think about regular things in life itself, but to go that deep would be, I don't even know. I can't even speak from any kind of experience.
I'm telling you, man, salvia is a good way to explore that, from what I've heard. I've never been that deep from salvia, any of my experiences, but it's 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, and then you're back. It's if you want to go deep really fast for a very brief period of time, just to lightly touch on it, or I guess technically heavily touch on it. I mean, I don't think you can go deep and come back and say that you went through a very light experience. I think it's definitely considered a heavy experience, but I think that that's a good way to do it. I would spot you any day. I would be your sitter if you ever needed me to.
Yeah, I was thinking about that like a couple days ago. Like if I ever decided to just do like 7 grams of mushies or just however much, I think I was like thinking about doing it alone, but I literally couldn't. But I don't know how like a sitter would influence me in that kind of situation. I at first I didn't want a sitter just because I didn't want anything to like mess with my trip or anything. But then as I started thinking about it, like there's probably a lot more things that could mess me up in a trip other than someone there if I was alone. So I think that's definitely important.
Yeah, a sitter is always a good idea to have. They're always a good fallback to have. I mean, I have never had a bad trip that I can speak of, but I mean, if I've ever needed somebody, I could always call them up whenever I've been through an experience by myself. But I mean, if you're going deep, if you're going really deep, I don't know. I don't really know. I've had a lot of experiences by myself, so I probably, being the confident person that I am, would go into it by myself, whether that be for better or for worse. I do think that a sitter would be a good idea for anybody in general, though. Probably, definitely not a negative thing.
But
cool.
my brain's pretty much fried because I've been doing
you've
shit all
been
day.
reciprocating content and keeping things moving. Do you, the people that were watching you on the live stream have the ability to comment and things like that?
Yeah, I talked to this one
cool.
dude. He said he said the only thing he said was, so I was just playing Minecraft, and he writes, "My dog just died," and then that's like the only thing he says. And I'm talking about something about like how infinite the universe is or something like that. And he's like, "My dog just died," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You know, what do dogs do all day when they just sit there?" And I'm like, and like they must think about something. Like maybe they're just, that's their kind of like, that's a version of hell where they have all these deep thoughts all day, but they can't talk, and so they try and tell you all day, but they don't. And he's like, "Dude, that's the deepest shit I've ever heard. Like, what are you smoking?" And I'm like, "I'm not smoking anything, man. This is just me." And then It was really cool. Some other dude followed me, and it was a really good hour, but it was hard after the hour to talk, so I just cut it off. It's such a. The more I do this, the more I realize that this is actually like a legitimate job, and it's actually tasking, and it's worthy of its rewards.
Yeah, I think you should do a live stream in which you actually do smoke something beforehand, but
Yeah,
because
there's
you are a
actually
very individual character when you're high. You on your regular level is equivalent to some people after they've, smoked a couple grams, let alone the fact that when you get high, you and me have some pretty deep conversations, some pretty crazy conversations that just come naturally.
dude.
Talks of baseball and kids getting naked across the parking lot turned into what if a giant tidal wave came over that mountain
Oh my
and was
gosh.
just going to swallow us and we were going to die in that very second.
Like, yeah, like what would you do in that second if you were literally about to drown to death and there's nothing? Like, I don't know what I would be thinking if I was in that situation.
I mean, yeah,
Oh my god.
if a giant tidal wave was gonna engulf the car that you were in, and assuming this tidal wave is gonna bring a large amount of water in the sense that you will be submerged afterwards under
And
this.
gay baseball players.
Yeah, and all these gay baseball players have their pants off or just sliding off your front windshield, and they're still throwing pants to each other. Like, don't worry, you can still try the gray ones on.
I'd be like, Zach, it's been a good one, and then I'd take a huge bong rip and pass it to you. And I'd let it out, and the water would crash through the window, and I'd just accept it.
Just accept it. I actually think we would be able to make a break for it. I mean,
That's probably.
if we're totally submerged, that's when you want to open. Having been in a car accident, which included my car being submerged underwater, I
Yeah.
can speak and say that once the water completely submerges your car and the pressure is equal, it's pressurized. Is that what I'm looking for? Again, my mind is just total fog, and I feel like a total idiot blabbing on here. But yeah, you can actually open the door and you can actually potentially swim away depending on how deep this water is that we're talking after this tidal wave.
Well,
But essentially,
if
if our car managed to survive this, if my car, which granted I'm rocking a Jetta, so I don't know if my German engineering could survive a tidal wave smacking into it. But assuming it could, we might be able to swim to the surface. Are you a strong swimmer?
no, not really. I know
Well,
how to swim, but I can't hold my breath for that long because I have asthma.
well, I would, if you happen to pass out underwater, I'd carry you to the top. I'd swim you to the surface or die trying.
I appreciate that.
Probably die trying, but that's okay.
As long as none of those gay baseball players touch me.
They're just going to be under the water grabbing at your legs as I'm trying to pull you to the surface. You're just going to be screaming as they're trying to grab your striped pants from you because they just want to try it on to see if it fits better. And you're just going to be like, no, man, let go of me. And they're going to be trying to steal your pants.
Well,
Wow. We sound like a bunch of fucking morons right now. I feel like we just sound like total idiots.
yeah, dude, we are.
I'm trying to come up with logical things, but can I blame it on the sickness, or am I going through some sort of mind paralysis that I just can't come up with anything logical?
I think one of the biggest things about it for me is just the pressure of having to do it on a schedule, and obviously the kind of it's like it was like planned, and it was like the mood of the pre-setup of the podcast and the just getting it all ready, getting in the mindset, getting in the preparing to do a podcast. It was very clunky. Like, we've skipped out on doing it the last few days. I wasn't able to do it. Jordan wasn't able to do it, and sometimes you weren't available. But like, just the whole thing of like rushing it and having to do it, and like, just it doesn't seem so. It's not like natural. It doesn't activate just a natural mind state where you're just thinking about normal things. It turns into a thing where you're thinking about trying to reach a certain standard, and you're trying to fulfill some kind of expectation that really shouldn't be there. So we got to find some way to make it.
I'm following you. Really, I don't think once a week is too much. I think we can do that. I think this has been a shitty week. I've been sick for like the past 5 or 6 days. I really haven't left my house very much. I mean, I've gone out and hung out with friends and smoked a bunch, which I probably shouldn't have done. I think that's made me more sick. But I think we really need to start focusing on doing this like in person, in front of each other, or preparing more beforehand, because I agree with you.
I mean,
I don't feel a ton of pressure, but I definitely know the aura that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not even like preparing for it. It's just trying to make it more natural when it does happen, you know? Trying to, or not trying to do anything, but like just having a more natural process to podcasting.
We need to figure out a day that we're all free, and we need to start meeting up on that day, or trying to meet up on that day and podcasting on that day.
Yeah, if like, the only problem with doing it in person is we'd have to get at least like $500 worth of equipment to have any good experience IRL.
IRL. Well, couldn't we all talk with our microphones just in the same room?
Yeah, but we'd each have to have an input. And then...
Well, can't we do like what you're doing right now? But all of it, like I'm on my phone and you're on your computer. I guess you can't use your computer. But...
You mean all getting like a Skype call?
Yeah, I mean, let's go back to the Stone Age and just talk in a Skype call while we're all in the same room.
Well,
Would that not work?
Well, the only thing is I record this podcast from my computer, from Skype. So if I were on Skype as well, I guess I do have a laptop. We could all get in Skype on our own devices.
Well, hey man, we'll get it figured out. If people like my input and we decide that I need to be in all of these podcasts, then I will definitely put money toward, or not all of the podcasts, but some podcasts. I would be fine getting it all figured out, and we'll get it figured out.
For sure. Well, let's sign this bitch off.
Sign the bitch off? Are you headed to bed?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna watch this 30-minute documentary on LSD, and then we'll go to bed.
There you go. Nice. What is it? It's at the Dig?
Oh yeah, it's at... Oh, shit. We forgot to do an intro, but this is the intro.
Hey guys.
Hey guys, this is Wes.
An hour and 7 minutes in. I'm Zach, and that's Wes.
And this is the Dig.
Fuck the Dig.
That's a great intro, I think. That's a great like jingle that we got going there. We have to trademark that before people trademark it.
I'm Wes, and I'm Zach, and this is the Dig.
It has to be that drop off. This is the Dig.
We sound so enthusiastic.
It has to be so unenthusiastic that it's enthusiastic. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. And follow us on Twitter at The Dig Podcast. And penis.
Wait, okay. Is that it?